Thank you so much, Rhonda, and welcome to the Confidence from the Ground Up podcast.
Thank you, Karleigh. Thanks for having me.
Your story. Okay, you're going to share it so much better than I can. So why don't we dive right in, start where you want to start, because your story is something special.
Yes, I hear a lot of different narcissistic disorders, personality disorder stories, like they're all survivors, but I haven't really heard a lot like mine, So we knew each other, actually. He was married at the time. He's got 3 children. And I bought some. Now, let me give you a little bit of background about myself first. I'm 50 years old. I have a ranching background, and I am a coal miner. I'm a heavy equipment operator in a coal mine here in northwest or northeast Wyoming. So I'm very strong. I stated my ground, and I will not let anybody push me around. So that creates a huge issue with men that want to be controlling. So let me start again. He was married at the time. We used to work together several years ago, and I can't remember even the date, 08, something like that. And he got divorced, and we met each other on, I think it was a Zoosk, or it was a dating app we met, and we just reconnected, and we kind of hit it off. I was definitely very interested in knowing him again, and I was pining over him. He was a really great guy, very charming, skilled, good looking. We dated for quite some time before we moved in together, and he had a house with a mutual friend, and he was in that house several months. He had his eldest daughter living with him with a grandson, and I seen red flags with him. I seen a lot of red flags, but I just overlooked them because I really liked the guy. I'm like, yeah, he had mental health issues, severe mental health issues that I later on discovered that were really bad. And I just overlooked them. And my mistake, my big, huge mistake. And one day he had been drinking, and he was on several mental health meds, antidepressants, and he was on and off of them. So he had a lot of mood swings with it. And he got intoxicated. And this was the first red flag. Passed out on the living room floor and hollering. He forgot I was even there. I wasn't even in the house. He forgot that I was there, and was hollering and screaming for his daughter to come and help him, whatever issues that was. I got up and I go, what are you doing? This is kind of strange behavior. Now, at that time, he was 48 or 49. And I'm like, this is a little odd behavior for a man of that age. But, needless to say, he went into bed, and he got up and he just started screaming at me. He says, this ain't going to work. I need you out of here. I'm like, well, that's not what you were saying to me a couple days ago. And it was a constant roller coaster of emotions all the time. And I'll throw a little humor in there. There was this, we were very sexually active at that time. And we were intimate when he wasn't either one on meds or drinking. And he'd come in there and he threw this vibrator at me, and he goes, here, now you can go fuck yourself. You can laugh. Yeah. And of course, I laughed at that, and I'm like, well, whatever. So after that event, that incident there, and I thought it was really weird, but it was funny nonetheless. And I found a whole bunch of bag of medications in like a gallon bag. I mean, it was full of medication. And I'm like, you have a grandson in the house. You might want to do something with these. And I says, what are you doing? Just keeping them. And he later that day, he flushed them down the toilet because I told him his grandson was there, And so it went on, and he took some anti-anxiety meds and passed out on the couch and slept for 2 days. And I had my own house, and it was a big house, and I was getting ready to move out of it. And he wanted to get rid of the house that he was in. So we decided, I said, how about, we buy a house together? Huge mistake, huge mistake. And we went out and looked for apartments for him while I was living in my own house, and we just couldn't find anything. And it's very expensive here. It just wasn't feasible. He had his daughter with him. And we decided to buy our own house. Now, yeah, I put $52,000 down on this house. And the agreement was that if I put the money down as a down payment, the house needed to be remodeled, and he would put the money into the remodeling. And it was said and done. Now, I told him we moved into the house. It was a 2,700 square foot house. The only thing he had literally to move into that house was a bedroom set and a washer and dryer. Everything else was mine. Everything was mine. The 2-car garage full of the stuff that I had. And I have 4-wheelers and campers and, pickup, and I have all this stuff. And so we decided to do this. And I said, look, I'd be more comfortable if I went to my attorney and he would write me up a document to say that if this relationship was ever to end, that I would get my capital contribution, and then he would get what he had put into the house as a remodeling, because that was the agreement. And I did that. I went through 3 documents in order to make him happy, because none of them was okay. And he would change them, and he would scratch out the money that he put into it, and then he'd just up his money as for the remodeling, and I would stay at my $52,000. And finally, finally my attorney wrote one that he was happy with, and it wasn't easy. He would tear them up. We'd get in a fight, and he'd tear them up. We need to get out of here. We need to sell the house. And it was a constant struggle. And, we were there 6 months, and we started fighting. I mean, we fought a lot of hollering, name calling, and I'll get to that. So he went out, this first one, it was in November, it was cold, and he decided to go to the bar and was gone for a really long time, didn't get home until midnight, and I was awake waiting for him. And I looked out the window, and he's kissing the barmaid. I never said a word to him. I never said a word. I went back to bed. Now, the remodeling hasn't been done because it was a 2-story home, and it was the basement we were remodeling. So we had stayed in the same room. He'd come in, and I never said a word for a long time, a couple, 3 days, 4 days, something like that. I go, how'd you get home? He goes, well, I walked home. Because I had to give him a ride to his vehicle at the bar. I walked home. I go, well, that must have been most unpleasant, because we live a long ways from where you were, and you were just wearing a jacket. And it went on for a while, and I never said anything about the barmaid. And pretty soon I said, so how was the barmaid? Because I finally fessed up. He says, he denied it, of course. I mean, I looked out the window, and they were in their car. How can you not? And he denied it adamantly. Even the proof that I had, he denied it. Started calling me bitch, cunt, slut. Started getting really, really mean. That was the first time the remodeling started. He started gaslighting, big time gaslighting. He ran in, there was one incident where he ran into the bathroom with a box cutter and sliced himself across the chest 6 times. And he come out, and I had his sister on the phone. And I said, your brother is having issues here. And I'm crying. I didn't know what to do. And I said, what do I need to do? She goes, well, I really don't know. I don't know how you're dealing with this. And we were close, and she knew he had issues, but they're brother and sister, they're going to stick together. And he come out, and he hadn't had a shirt on. And you could see all these cuts. I'm not kidding you, from chest to one side to the other. There was 6 of them, and he was bleeding. And I called the cops. I said, you need to come over here because I don't know what to do. And he went outside, talked to one of the officers. He comes up to me and he goes, what do you think he was doing in there? I go, I don't know what the fuck he was doing in there. I don't have X-ray eyes, man. You know, what the hell am I supposed to think he was doing in there? I don't have X-ray eyes. So a lot of that kind of thing happened in that. And that, I didn't know what to think at that point. We had a trip to Barbados, although we did go to Barbados together and had a pretty good trip up until the end when we were getting ready to leave and he got drunk. And I have a good friend, Jake, we're co-workers. And I'm very close to Jake. He helps me and we do things together. And I have a girlfriend, Vicky, and it got to the point where she didn't want to come over anymore. Jake couldn't come over anymore. And I was starting to be isolated. And I gained a whole bunch of weight. He was name calling me every day. I mean, every single day. And at this point, it wasn't sticks and stones anymore. It was starting to wear on me. You know, it was wearing on me and I was about to lose my mind. And I was getting bad. And I talked to his sister a lot. She never did say anything about the box cutting when he was cutting himself. She never did say anything to me. At that point, the relationship was pretty much over at that point. So there was a lot of, he'd come home and he would just start drinking he wasn't on antidepressants at that time. Cause I know, you know, what it does is you're on antidepressants and then you drink, you got a depressant and then you antidepressant and your neurotransmitters in your brain are just firing off. That's what that was going on, but you couldn't tell him. I said, you got to pick one or the other. And he never did. Went through a psychiatrist in out of state. We took him to a psychiatrist. He got on some different types of medications, did a DNA test to see what would work. The SSRIs didn't work for him, but they had put him on like stabilizers and different things. You know, I can't remember everything. It was quite a bit. And you know, he would go to work and he'd be at work and he'd be texting me, oh, I can't wait to see you, I love you. And then he came home and it was fire and gasoline. That's what that relationship was. It was fire and gasoline every single day and fighting and arguing. I just quit fighting with him because I couldn't get anywhere. And like I said, the name calling just wasn't sticks and stones anymore. I was called a cunt every single day. Every single day he'd come home from work. I would run into my bedroom. We had separated at that point. The remodeling had been done and I separated it. I went into my own room and I just hide. I didn't know what to do. And he bought some hand pulls for the remodeling for the vanity down in the room that we were remodeling. And this was the gaslighting move at this point, because he said he had 2 different sizes, a short one and a long one. And he put it on the counter and he says, these look good. I think, yeah, they look good. And I think you did good picking them out, whatever. And he left them there. And he would go to work. We were on different schedules at this time. We were working the same schedule, but we separated and he went to a different crew and different schedule. So he come home and he had switched those drawer handles into the same size I didn't know because I didn't touch them. He says there had to be a man in the house. I know there's a fucking man in this house. You're fucking him. These drawer pulls were the same size. Well, he switched them is what he did. And I thought I was going crazy because I thought well, maybe I did, you know, what if I did? And I didn't touch him. I know I didn't touch him. I had to really reevaluate where I was going with that because my mind was so traumatic that I could not figure out whether or not I did it. I didn't know reality. So that was when it started, like, oh man, I'm losing my goddamn mind. I'm literally losing my mind. from what he's doing. So he, at one time he's, you know, drinking, and he went down into the basement, and he was laying on the floor. It was like a tile floor, and he was beating his hand against the bottom of the washer and dryer, pounding. And at this point, he had put surveillance cameras in the house watching me. Everything I did, he had surveillance cameras watching me. And I didn't know about them for a long time, but he was down there and he was beating. I go, what are you doing? He said, I'm just laying here, you fucking cunt. And he had taken my 9mm pistol, and he is sitting on his knees, and he said, every time I try to kill myself, something happens. And he fired it off into the ceiling. It was a dry fire because the gun had jammed. And I'm learning at this point, and I didn't know what to do. And I went and got my phone, and I started videoing him. Now, as odd as that sounds, it's the only thing that I could think of is to defuse it, because he did not want anybody to know the bad side of it. He did not want to ruin his reputation. I was the monster. I was doing this to him. And once I started videoing him, he stopped. He threw the pistol into the light. Glass went everywhere. I grabbed it. I was wrestling around with him, trying to grab it with glass on the floor. I got it from him, disarmed it, and I just left him there. I just left him there. I got the pistol. Now, I was cleaning house, and there was bullets all over the house. And I was cleaning, you know, the bathroom, and I left the pistol there, and I disarmed it. I was picking up bullets throughout the house. And he said, he went into the bathroom and he said, what's this? And I showed him the video, and he denied it. I don't remember doing that. I don't remember doing it. I'm like, well, it happened. And I sent it to his sister, and they thought it was really weird that I'd be videoing it, but that was my only decision to defuse him. We were seeing a counselor at the time, and he had seen her before when he was married to his wife. And she knew that he had severe mental issues. She knew this. And I proceeded, she wasn't happy with me because I begged and pleaded to get into an appointment with her in between her appointments, and she got me in. She was not happy with me to begin with. And I showed her the video of what happened, that because it was the next day. And she goes, you know, this is going to happen again. I'm like, I know. She goes, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm just going to let it run its let it run its course. And she said, she texted me, she goes, well, you got just as many health issues as or mental health issues that he's got, because you're staying there, and I think you like drama. And I was pissed. Now, if I knew what I knew now, she would have never got a chance to say that to me. But for one, I was trauma bonded. And she says, drama, why don't you just get out? You can just leave. I had $52,000 of my money and my possessions in that house. I'm just not going to leave. And she said, next time someone pulls a pistol, you call the cops. And the reason I didn't do it is I did not want his family to be embarrassed. He would have landed his ass on the 5th floor at the hospital in the mental ward. His daughter is an RN up at the hospital. I did not want to do that to her. Oh my, I just landed her dad up at the hospital. Yeah, I did not want to do that. And I wish I would have now. And they would have took him up there. I never called the cops that time, but he called the cops on me 7 times, claiming that I choked him. He went into the spare room and he started sleeping in there, and he was hollering for me. And I went in there to check on him. And he was in bed, and I laid down on him, and he jumped up and he goes, what the fuck you doing in here? what the fuck you doing in here? And he went against the wall, and I reached out to hug him, and he called the cops on me, telling the cops that I choked him. And all I did was reach out to hug him. He says, she's gonna choke me. He had no marks on him. Now I'm 5'11". I'm strong. If there would have been something like that going on, there would have been marks. I'm a ranch girl. I'm strong. There's no way. So, and that wasn't the first time. Now, these video cameras that he had throughout the house, I don't know how many there were, but I know that there was 2 of them that I later found that he admitted that he had. And he had them hidden in a set of encyclopedias, and then he had them in like where he could get power in and outside the door when I came and went. So I went and get groceries that day. I was working, he was at work, and I went to get groceries, and I left, and these are automatic cameras. He's seen me leave because he's watching me from work on his phone. And seeing me leave, and I come back, and I'm like, damn, I forgot dog food. Left again, and he's watching. I didn't know. And went to get dog food, and come back home, and I went into the house, and they're activating, and he comes home. Well, I had to drive around the house to unload the dog food in the garage. And when I got into the shower that evening, he was coming home. He was outside feeling the radiator of my car to see if it was warm, if I had been gone. And I'm like, I looked out the window and I seen him do this, and I go, what the hell are you doing? I know you're fucking a guy. I know you're fucking somebody. No, I'm not. And it didn't matter. No matter how hard I tried to convince him I was not doing anything of the sort, I stayed home and I went to work because I was so isolated. I was scared of him because I thought when he brought that pistol, he was going to shoot me and then shoot himself. And it's not unheard of. So when I started moving out, he was putting, we finally agreed between the back and forth of who's going to buy the house, if we're going to sell it, and it had been on the market for a while, and how are we going to work this out? I did not want the house. I didn't want it. I kind of, at first I'm like, well, I'll just take it. And it would just cost me way too much money to even take that house. And it wasn't my dream home. So there was no fight with me over that home. He was wanting to move his daughter back in with him anyway, because she was having problems with her mother. And I helped the girl out, with different things and household stuff. But finally, I had about 25% of my things packed up, and I'm moving out. Now I put $3,000 of contingency money on my new home that I currently live in, and I absolutely love it. Happy here. And when that's going on with all my stuff that was packed up and in boxes, he was going through them and taking my shit. He took some gifts that he gave me and different things, but I'm like, I just want out. I just want out. I'm just trying to keep the peace. And I was going to work that day, and it was really bitter cold. It was 30 below here at that time. And I couldn't start my car. So I called up Jake. I said, Jake, I can't start. I got to go to work. And it's, 4 o'clock in the morning. And he comes over and he starts it. And I said, okay, we go. Get called from work, get called off. And I was having problems with the battery. So Jake was going to help me get my car and stuff running because it's cold. And I went home, or he called me, and I took Jake out for breakfast. And I said, thanks for helping me. I'll buy you breakfast. And that's what we did. So he calls me and he goes, where are you at? I'm like, I'm having breakfast with Jake. He helped me with my car this morning. It was really cold. I'm going to stop at Home Depot. I'm going to get boxes. I'm going to come home. He says, that just makes it all better. You're with fucking Jake again. I mean, he could accuse me of screwing Jake, accuse me of screwing my realtor, and And that brings up another one. And if I was screwing that many guys, I was busy. I don't know where I'd have the time or the energy to keep up with that. And so he accused me of having a threesome with his realtor. She dropped a memory stick in the house when she put the house on sale. And there was some very, very explicit photos of her and her boyfriend. And she just happened, yeah, I seen everything. And he's seen everything. And there just happened to be a file on that memory stick of the house and my files on there. So he thought I was having some type of a thing with his realtor, because I had a buying agent. I'm like, oh, I was like, fuck my life, man. Literally, fuck my life. And he finally says, you might want to give this back to her. And because we were friends. So I gave it to her and I go, I'm really glad that you did not drop this anywhere else because of these photos. Yeah, not something you want to say. She's like 62. So, right? So back when I was moving out, I come back from Jake helping me breakfast, and I hadn't been drinking, and he was putting up the CO2 sensors in the house, so the refinancing, and he always said, I'm not going to refinance it if you don't sign this, and I'm not going to refinance it if you sign that, because I was backed into the corner and all I did was want out. And he was financially manipulating me, going, if you don't do this, I'm not going to do that. If it was all the time, every single day. I says, I'm not going to sign this. And he goes, well, I'm not going to refinance then. So he was putting CO sensors up and doing improvements in the house, which he had to do to get it refinanced, which, and they were beeping on me, and he was leaving, and he was very antagonistic, and he would antagonize me until he got a reaction. And then once he got the reaction he wanted, he'd play victim. And he was very good at it, and he did it a lot. I mean, he wanted my dog out in the garage at 30 below because he didn't want him in the house. I mean, he attacked everything I had. And so I says, if you don't take these off, I'm going to rip them off the wall, and you're just going to have to do it when I'm gone. Because he had been calling me a cunt, a bitch, and I'm at my breaking point. I says, you need to leave. I ain't fucking leaving. When I'm moving out, you need to leave. And what he did was he raised his hand up at me, and he was going to hit me. And when he put it down, I reacted, and I shoved him off of me. I shoved him away. He shoved me back. He says, I'm going to fucking you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your hunting rights. You're not going to travel internationally. You're not going to do anything. And they're going to take every fucking thing you own. I'm calling the cops, and you're going to fucking jail. Well, he had screamed and hollered at me at that point for more than 2 minutes. And if there was any mark on him, I would have seen it. He went downstairs, called the cops, came back up with a little pin mark right on his cheek. Just a little tiny pin mark. Like a little puncture. Like if you were, to take blood. And I had my rings on, and he said I punched him. Well, if I punched him, he would freaking known about it, because he would have been black and blue he would have known that if I would hit him. They put me in jail. They came and got me and put me in jail. Needless to say, I went to jail for, 16 hours, I think. And I was being cuffed by the police the police guy. I was like, well, this isn't like the last time I was cuffed. So, my sense of humor, I have a very good sense of humor, and I had to do something at that point. I was getting arrested. So I went to jail. I got out. Vicky come and picked me up. And I went into the library where it was quiet. And, nobody's going to bother me. And I called my attorney, and I told my attorney exactly what happened. And he says, this is bullshit. Says, okay, Chris, how much is it going to cost me? A lot. It cost me a lot. I got a domestic battery charge from it. And, oh yeah, they took, I can't have firearms. Everything else is fine. And to be honest with you, I don't think my life has really all changed that much. It's actually improved. But he did some really shitty things. And what his motive was, is he put a protection order on me at that time too. I could not get into the house and get my possessions, my furniture to move into my new home. I could not get in there. I wrote letters to the judge when he put that protection order on me, letters and letters. I said, I got this new home. I said, I can't get my furniture to move into my new home. I just want to move on with my life. Finally, I had Vicky, she has a pickup. Jake had a pickup and trailer. I have my pickup. And then I had a moving company. I said, lock and load. The judge gave me an amendment to that protection order. I had 6 hours to get what I needed. And I was in my attorney's office sitting there, and I go, I signed these papers for this refinance, and I'm never going to get my stuff. I had 2 attorneys sitting there. We need to get you out of here as soon as we can. And this is the only way we're going to be able to do it. We need to leave your stuff there. And I told him I wasn't going to get my stuff. And I didn't for a long time. And when you have an ownership of a home, you can pretty much do anything you want to that house. I had made extra keys to get in that house because I knew something was happening. I was getting prepared. And I got into the house and I said, take my furniture, take my bed, my TV, and I'll get all the kitchen stuff. You guys get all the heavy stuff, and we'll get the priority things so I can move and get the fuck out. And I did. And it was snowing. We covered I try not to do any damage to the house. He said I did later, but I know I didn't. I took videos of everything before and after. There was some things there that were left that weren't priority items. And later on, I had to go through the court again to get the rest of it. And we protection, I didn't want to see him. I don't want nothing to do with that man. And so I got all my stuff, moved into my new home, and I got the domestic battery, and we're going to move on with my life. I got laid off from our work because our company was a refinance or a foreclosure. And I was laid off for 3 months. I told my attorney, I said, I'm not going to be able to pay I had some money saved up just for my attorney so I could get him paid. And I was without a job. I had a friend apparently contact him and said, well, it's her karma. That's what he said. It's her karma. She don't need a job. He wanted me to lose my job, lose my money, lose everything I had. And that didn't happen. He wanted to put did this domestic on me, because then I wouldn't be valuable to anybody. I would not have another relationship, and no other man would want me. And that's not true either. I went to jury trial. I went to the jury trial, and he told them that I handed him the pistol. Not to mention, he just told me when that happened, he don't remember. The cameras he had, if I was really dangerous, there was 2 videos that he put into the evidence with the prosecuting attorney. And the only reason he did that is because he wasn't paying for his own attorney. The state did it, so he didn't have to pay. He went into the bedroom, and I didn't know it had a camera. I was going down there, and he was in the bedroom, and again, he told me I was going to choke him. And what he did is he lured me into the bedroom, and you could see the reflection off of 2 doors. They were French doors. If I was dangerous, you sure as shit wouldn't corner yourself. And that's what he did. He put me in the front of that camera. And it didn't show anything, just the reflection on those two doors. And again, he said I choked him. And I noticed when he went into the view of those cameras, he was like, because there were audio, get away from me, you fucking bitch, don't touch me. Told him I choked him. I didn't, no, come back out. And I'm like, fuck you. You know what? Fuck off. You're a piece of shit. And it happened a lot. I mean, he had a lot of videos on me. I had a couple of them too for court as well, because I got really wise to every time I got near him, he was videoing me. He had his camera on all the time on me. Yeah, I don't trust you. I'm like you're trustworthy? So, right? And I mean, the video, I don't know, like I said, I don't know how many video cameras he had, but when he went to his attorney and tried to get the refinance done on the house, I think they gave him advice to remove those cameras because he was watching me go in and out of the bathroom. And I have pictures of where, to this very day, I have pictures of where those were. I could not find any relief. I talked to therapists, I talked to psychics, I talked to anybody that could give me some type of relief where I could actually move on from this. And it was 2.5 years, which is nothing compared to the people who are doing 20. And I could not find any relief from it at all. So, I mean, now I'm just all blurred together. Any questions, Karleigh?
Oh my God, like all of that. It's hard because there's so much that I want to say as a human being that I just want to like spout off shit. And then there's the other part of me that's like, okay, I need to maintain my composure. I can't just go off on some of this. But the biggest thing that I have to say is one, oh my God, this is why I am so over the moon passionate about how important getting the education on the psychology of abusive relationships into the hands of mental health professionals. Like, one, I thought it was bad that I have had PhD psychologists reach out to me and ask me for my opinion and to educate them on things, which is like, yeah, I am honored, but it's also like, why weren't you taught? Like, why was this not a thing to know?
They don't. Therapists are not taught. They go by the DMS-5, and it only gives you the grandiose, overt description. And it's not a diagnosis. It's a personality disorder. We went to 2 therapists together, and most of the time he just walked out. He didn't want anything to do with it. He wanted to get his daughter in that house. He wanted me out, and he took everything he possibly could. And he had 2 things. Now, if the house was up on sale for a long period of time, I would have kept on losing my capital contribution. My money would have kept on going down, 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 down. And he would have had that house. He would have still had it, and I would be broke and not have it. I settled for $47,000. I said, take the 5 off. I would have lost more than that if I would have stayed in that position to sell that house. He ended up buying me out. And he was trying to back out of it because it was going to be expensive. And he wanted his daughter with him, and which is another one that has high anxiety, and they're peas in a pod. He wanted to control her too, I'm sure. But you know, he had a plan A and a plan B, and that was to get me out, and he was going to do anything he could to get me out. I was already leaving. He didn't have to do this. And I told him that it doesn't have to be like this. Can you just back off? And I broke. When those alarms went off, I had it with the name calling, everything. I was at my very limit. I was going to have a nervous breakdown. And I, prayed, and I tried all this therapy, and I tried to get, like I said, I tried to get relief. And my friends to this very day are very supportive of me. I lost Vicky as a friend because she just told me, she goes, you know, there's other things to talk about other than him. And I go, not right now. This is consuming me. And Jake has been there for me. He's listened to my girlfriend from work. She's been very supportive. She had been through some things as well. And later on, they go, you know what? People go on with their lives. They're not going to worry about whether or not you can have a firearm. And it's true. My life has improved. And I'm better. And I had a breakthrough. I had a breakthrough at work. And I started, this is when I finally got relief. I listened to The Little Shaman on YouTube. And every single one of her content hit home. I'd be at work crying, going, oh my God, I can't believe. I finally realized it wasn't me. Now, I did some asshole-ish shit just to protect myself, but I was mirroring him and I was starting to take on his characteristics. And once I got out, I'm like, holy shit, I cannot even imagine being married to that man for 20 years like his ex-wife. It's no wonder she's in that case. He's got 4 children, 2 boys and a girl. And I'm like, I just, fuck, you know? Go ahead.
There's so much I want to say. There's like 50 things trying to come out of my mouth at once, and they're all getting stuck. This is why, because people, oh my God, this is why education and understanding is so freaking important. Because the fact that a mental health, and I've had this too. When I was 17 in my first physically abusive relationship, my therapist told me not to make any, I was on my period when I went in and talked to her about it. She was a woman, for the record. Anyway, I went in and talked to her about it, and she was like, well, don't make any rash decisions right now, because right now you're feeling extra emotional. So, you know, basically telling me that I was probably over exaggerating. With this dude literally shot me with an airsoft gun 6 feet away, anyway, it was a whole thing, but I was over exaggerating. Like, there is a problem when mental health professionals are blaming the victim. Yeah. And I'm so fucking sick and tired of this shit. Like, this is why so many people, I get so fired up on this. I personally know people who did not make it out of the relationship, and they are now 6 feet under, and their kids are now without a mom because they were told that it was their fault. They were told that they should just try harder. That's why this shit is so fucking important. And education and understanding is where it's at. It's 2021. There's no more bullshit excuse of, oh, we didn't know. One, there's not enough research done on the brain of survivors, which pisses me off. But there's enough information to know that it's not our fucking fault. And especially as survivors, we already feel like it's our fault. We already feel like we caused a problem. We know we should have left sooner. We know that we need to get out. We're aware of all these things. And one more person telling us how horrible we are is only going to bring us one step closer to the grave, or worse, or worse.
Oh yeah. And you know, the first one, when I took the video to that first counselor, she told me, we were in there together, and she told him while I was sitting there that he could use more narcissism because he had such a low self-esteem about himself. She wanted more grandiose. And I'm like, after I started getting education, I just want to choke her out, because I'm like, what the fuck, lady? Now take that in context, because when I say choke him out, he thought I was really wanting to choke him out. You know, and he took it. It's like, oh my God, she says it all the time. I'm like, no, I'm not a violent person. I stand my ground, and everybody should. But this is what happens when you do. You get this, and he's clever and he's smart, and he would do anything to hurt me. But he was a monster at home, and he was just a gentleman out in public. And it was true. It was like really super sweet to everybody else, but treated me like crap when he got home. I mean, I was running for my life. It's a true thing, a really true thing.
And it's not as rare as people act like it is. It's not something that happens once in a while. Like I did a video for YouTube and I had to do some research for it because I wanted to get some updated statistics. And it was something like over 25% of women starting at age 15, not 50, 15. And apparently that's lumped into women, which anyway, that's a whole nother thing. 25% experience some sort of physical or sexual violence. 25% of women worldwide starting at age 15. And yet we are still out here acting like this isn't a big deal that needs to get taken care of. Like this is why for a number of reasons, but this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to start holding space for these stories on the podcast and for my YouTube channel, because we have learned that the government isn't gonna save us. Our friends and family aren't really going to save us. It's up to us as victims to keep screaming so loud until they can't ignore us anymore. And this,
no, because I was a crazy person. I turned crazy person, and I lost. I mean, I could have lost everything, and he wanted to take everything, and he really could. And what really is frustrating for me too, and I don't want to generalize narcissism just towards women, because there are men that have been exposed to narcissism as far as women. So I don't want to forget about that too. And it could be even, it's damaging as well, because women have just a different way of going about and doing things. And you know, there's a lot of men that going, yeah, I was a narcissist, but I think it's overused when people don't have the education going, oh my God, he's got this trait. He must be a narcissist. And it's really frustrating for me, because when you hear, oh my God, how do you know he was a narcissist? He could have just been acting out on some traits and characteristics and not be a narcissist, a full-fledged narcissist. I get that all the time, going, oh, you know, I'm a self-proclaimed narcissist. Well, it's not a good thing, but how do you know? You can't just generalize it in one thing when there's so many types of characteristics. You got overt, covert, boomerang, all these, you know, symptomatic, these things. And you're in one category. You can't just categorize it. And it's just into one, just because it's a generalized, you know, thing to say. But it's frustrating, is the education that people don't have about it. And you're like, wait a minute. Is he pathological? Because he was pathologically covert, and he was good.
And I 100% agree with that, because I do think, because there are, and this was so frustrating. Hopefully she doesn't watch this, but there was a woman who commented, and she may, but I can't see her comments anymore. Commented on my YouTube channel and said that because she was out and about and a woman complimented her on her eyebrows, that the woman who complimented her was a narcissist.
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
I was so confused, so I commented back and I said, I'm not trying to be rude. I just want to understand, because everybody's gone through shit. So I want to understand, like, is there something I'm missing? And then she basically told me I don't have enough life experience to know what I'm talking about, which just triggered me, because I hate being told that I'm too young to understand, because it's also like, you have no idea what I've been through. Yes, I'm only 28, but don't tell me I don't have life experience. That pisses me off. But like, that is the problem, when people just start spouting off when they have their own anecdotal evidence. Now, clearly this woman has been through things. She's gone through stuff, and she's got her walls up. So I'm not trying to say that in a judgmental way, but that is why you can't say the word narcissist in court, because you'll immediately have your case thrown out, because they think you're being dramatic. They think you're just bitter. They think you're angry.
Yeah.
You have to, because it goes back and forth, because narcissist in that way is definitely overused. But when people who have gone through it are sharing their story, people act like it's overused in that sense, but it's not. It needs to be talked about more. It's a buzzword for good reasons, but when it's used just because you're made uncomfortable somehow.
Exactly.
I compliment people all the time, and I would like to think I'm not. I mean, everybody has some level of narcissism, because we all need to care about ourselves, right? Like,
exactly.
There's a healthy level. It's the extreme on either end that's a problem. But we have got to educate people, especially anyone who's dealing with people with anyone who is in any occupation ever needs to understand this, because the statistics are 1 in 4 and 1 in 7 women and men respectively, which I don't believe those numbers are correct. I think it's closer to 1 in 2 and 1 in 3 are dealing with this just by being in a group of people. You are with a survivor. And the issue is they may not even know that they're a survivor. They may not even understand that they were a victim, because they have all this stuff thrown at them. We have all this stuff thrown at us that's normal in society, that it's okay that these things, and that all of that did not mean to go on this rant.
And you know, later on, after I did talk to the little shaman on the phone and had a really good conversation to her, because I just, at that point in that time, I couldn't get any relief. And I'm like, you know, what if I took him to civil court? Can I take him to civil court? My attorney says, yes, you can. For mental abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, that is domestic too. And I could have taken him to civil court. Now, what she says, and my attorney giving me some, advice as well. He says, well, you're not paying for this, but, saying that I don't want you to live through that again. I don't want you to relive it. Move on with your life and be happy. And I have. I'm happy. I'm going to be happy no matter what. And I am healed. I want people to know that they can heal from that. It took me a while. It took me a long time, and it was tough. It was the toughest thing. I've been married a couple of times, bad relationships, ups and downs, and I will only consider one person my ex. I have one ex, and that's him. So when I talk about my ex, that's who I'm talking about. I've never been through anything, and I've been through some pretty shitty things. I've never been through anything like that. And if I were to have, and I believe strongly in karma, my karma's clean, because he was my karma. And I'll say that wholeheartedly.
And that's where so much change needs to happen, when you have to choose your own peace over justice.
Yeah.
And that's a problem all across the board in all sorts of places, but particularly in these instances, because people don't understand the nuances that happen within abusive relationships. They don't want to, because it means that they're actually an abuser or that they're actually a victim. And neither of those things are comfortable, which is why and that's, again, a whole nother conversation. I need to focus, because I've got 30 soapboxes up and I'm jumping between them.
No, if you're talking, you do a lot of, the hormones and stuff. So my hypothalamus is damaged because of all that. And when you talk to me, people are like, they just chalk me up as a kind of a ditz. She's just zoning out. And I'm trying to process. And when I talk at work, I just I pause. It's because of my memory. And I am damaged from it. And I have permanent damage from the trauma. But other than that, it'll be there. But I want to know, people, you don't have to be triggered by everything. I'm triggered by yelling, but I've always have. I don't like yelling. You won't get anywhere with me if you start yelling at me. I think most people are like that anyway, but seriously, that's probably my only trigger, is the yelling. The name calling. Don't call me names. Let's be adults.
Man, that phrase, just be an adult, that right there, that's a whole word. We can just pretty much chalk the whole podcast up to that, because it really
with narcissists particularly, if they feel it, then it's reality. If it's a true feeling, and I'm not saying a gut feeling, you go by your instinct as a gut. He had instinct as a gut, and he thought I was messing around. He thought I was fucking other men, but he felt it, and then he believed it. And it happened a lot. And I think it happens a lot with narcissists, that it's a true feeling, and they lose the sense of reality, and there's no logical and rational thinking. Goes out the door. They focus on one thing, and then it just accelerates from there. And he did a lot.
And that is why, and I just keep saying it, but it's because this education and understanding is so important, because I am so big on providing education, so that way survivors can alleviate some of that guilt that we feel, because we do feel like it was our fault. And also for non-survivors to understand why we do what we do, and why things are not as easy as, well, just leave. God, I'm so sick of hearing that. that's a trigger for me.
If
I
they-
will flip
yeah.
a table. Like, I'm sorry, I haven't fought anybody in years. It's been a long time since my fist was connected with the face, but I swear to God, like, maybe I shouldn't say this on a recorded podcast. I'm not actually going to harm anybody.
You're right. You know,
But-
that's the part. That's the
but, like,
part of
if I
logical
hear-
thinking.
If I hear one more time, oh, well, they should have just left, like, you're signing your own permission slip. Like, I need you to be aware. If you are hearing this and you hear and you say you should have just left, you are signing your own death certificate. Whatever happens, I'm going to black out. So I'm not going to have memory. Like, you need this. Okay. But anyway, my own soapbox.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's just, you know, it's the part of, I mean, because when I text, we had a mutual text message from when we put the house on sale, and we were text messaging all together so everybody be in the loop. And I says, all I want to do is throw rocks in his face. And he used that against me. Now, that is the part of logical and rational thinking, is that, you know, you get stuff on Facebook, you get stuff on TikTok going, I just want to do this. Doesn't mean they're going to do it. It's like, yeah, I'm going to get a bunch of rocks and I'm going to throw them at your face. Now, come on. Where's the reality and the common sense in that? There wasn't any. He thought I was really going to do it. So it made me violent. And he took a lot of stuff. Even the prosecuting attorney took some stuff off my Facebook going, you know, wish your ex was here and all this stuff. I put some funny stuff on there. And she brought it up in court. If anybody goes through the stuff that I've been through, do not get on social media and start posting that shit, because they will get it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really good attorney.
You have to be so careful with every single thing you say.
You know, I had a really good attorney. When I was in court, there was a lot of dynamics that came in through court and the jury trial. For one, it was self-defense, and when the jury instructions came out, they would not put guilty by self-defense, or, you know, it was like one worded really, really weird. And my attorney says, no, we got to get this changed. The judge would not let him change it. And there was no self-defense option on the jury instructions. There was a jury of 5 men and 1 gal, and I worked with the gal in a different department. And I asked her later on, I says, why was I convicted? And she goes, because you admitted that you did it. Yeah, I did it, but he did it first. He shoved me first. He was going to hit me. I have 12 years of martial arts experience. I'm not taking that shit. And, you know, there's no way I'm going to take anything like that from anybody. So they gave me the message. The judge and the state gave me the message that it's okay for women to put, and that's what they did. It's not okay for me to put up with this shit. It's not okay for anybody to put up with this shit. But that's the message they sent me. And then the state said, well, she's a coal miner. Coal miners are aggressive. And I'm a woman. And I think I'm a woman coal miner. So when I went to work, we were going through our retraining, a yearly retraining, and that we have to do. And they go, so what happened? Now, all the guys were all looking, you know, they were all wound up trying to figure out what I did. And because I was in the paper and it was all over Facebook of what happened, you know, generally that Rhonda Brewer was you know, convicted of domestic violence, but battery. It was domestic battery. I could have took a guilty. It would have been gone off my record in a year. I did not want to do that because I'm not guilty of it. It was premeditated, and I was freaking definitely set up for failure. But now my friends, they're like, I am a certified man beater, which is kind of funny. I mean, not a lot of women can have that title. And that's what they think. But it's all good. It's all good-hearted. They've been very supportive of me. I'm sure, at least to my face.
I'm so glad you have that community of people that are just willing to roll with you, like that because they know you and they know the truth behind it.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, I don't know. There's education and there's also mindset, which we don't have time to get into because education only goes so far. But when people truly believe what they believe. It doesn't matter how much education you give them. They're just, which is a major problem right now, especially in the judicial system, government at large. But I just want to say, and I don't say this lightly, it really does mean a lot when someone is so willing to come forward and share their story, because it's not easy. It does take a lot of just, I mean, cojones to just come up and be like, this is what happened and this is what it did. And I say this a lot. No one is entitled to your story. You're not entitled to mine. I'm not entitled to yours. But when someone is so willing to come up and share that, and you have that pull to come up and share that, I do think it's so... Dang car. Sorry, I live next to such obnoxious people, but I do think that we should listen to it, because your story is going to impact so many people, because there's someone that needs to hear that they're not crazy and that it's not their fault, and that reactive abuse is a thing, and these things are premeditated, and it does not matter. This is the thing. Okay, as someone who has mental illness, as someone who loves people with mental illness, just because they have a mental illness does not permit abuse. Just because they're not good in the head does not mean that what they did was okay.
Exactly. And he used it for an excuse. He used it for an excuse and it worked. It's like, oh my God, I forgot to take my medication. And he used it for an excuse. He remembered a lot and it was premeditated. He had somebody helping him and giving him advice, and I just said, and he gave his number out to a woman at work and she was calling me. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck off. Okay. Just fuck off and leave me alone. I got enough to worry about. I don't need your shit. So yeah, I just don't, I think that's pretty much all of my story. I never did. I didn't get on the stand and testify, which was a huge, huge, huge mistake. I wish I would have, and I would have been able to tell my story on the stand in the court. And I really honestly believe that I would have never been convicted if I would have. And my attorney apologized to me for that. He says, we should have put you on the stand. He was a great guy. I consider him as a friend. I still, I still owe him money, but not very much. I'm all paid up, but it was very expensive, but I wanted to try to at least fight it. And I did some mistakes. My attorney did some mistakes, and I'm not going to hold it against him, because he says people will move on, people will forget about all this, and they have. I'm going to tell my story to people. I hope I can help them as much as people have helped me. I mean, there's a lot of mental to it and a lot of psychology to it. And people don't understand what it does to your brain chemistry. So yeah, thanks for hearing me out.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think it's so freaking cool that I get to sit here and hold space for these conversations. And not to give my opinion, not to have a soapbox moment. I couldn't help myself. It happened. But just hold space and to let you know that this is your time to share however you want to share it. And that space, and this is not me trying to toot my own horn, but those spaces don't exist enough. There needs to be more of them. And so my goal with this is, one, selfishly to connect with more people who get it, because just having that understanding, it's never okay that someone went through it, but it makes me feel so much less alone. Just knowing that it's not just me. And two, to inspire people. And three, to start to create change.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's no change unless we start sharing our story. Because people don't understand why we don't leave. People don't understand when we don't call the police. People don't understand that in some cases, calling the police could be signing your own death certificate. Because if they hide enough, the police can't do anything. And the moment the cops are gone, lives are taken. Yep. And I personally know people where that has happened. And I know the police officers, and they feel so guilty. But without change, they can't do that. This is why this matters so much to me. Because when we start sharing, that's when they're not going to be able to ignore it. Because right now, it's rare. Right now, it's once in a while. Right now,
he told me. Yeah,
but when
he
we
told
come
me
together and we start saying, no, this is what fucking happened, stop ignoring me,
exactly.
we're not going to have a choice. I don't think I'm going to see change in my lifetime, but I am really doing my absolute best so that when my son sees change in his. Like,
yeah, I've seen change.
Goal.
I've seen change in mine. During our layoff for work, the state gave education or tuition, paid your into tuition for education for displaced coal miners. So I'm going to school for addiction practitioner. I'm currently in my psychology class, which I'm really enjoying actually. And I've made some positive changes, and this has literally been life-changing. And one thing I would definitely tell people is do not disregard those red flags. Don't disregard. And there's help and there's resources and there's people out there that really actually understand. Not so many. I think there's more psychiatrists and more therapists that understand it. There's more of them out there, but certainly not the ones I was with. So that was unfortunate. I can't believe she said that. It's like he could use more narcissism. I'm like, wow.
I mean, that's someone shouldn't have a license, like straight up shouldn't have a license. But again, that's just my soapbox. I'll hang it up, save it for later.
Right. That's fine.
But Rhonda, I can't thank you enough for being so willing to come and to share and to speak so openly. That's not lost on me. I am so honored and I'm so grateful that you were so willing. For the people that I'm sure are going to want to reach out and connect with you, I know that you've got a TikTok, or I'm going to include your email address in the show notes. Yeah. Where can they do that?
Yes, it's CZYLADY, C as in cat, Z as in zebra, Y lady at Hotmail, and then my Dozer Diva TikTok. And you can add those onto you. And I really appreciate you listening to my story, Karleigh. I'm actually very honored as well. Hopefully, feel free to contact me. I'll be there and have advice, and so you can actually, the people can recover. They can recover, and it's a choice, and it's definitely a mindset. Hard, really hard, but we can do it. There's a community out there that really understand and appreciate everybody. So I'm surprised that even on TikTok, because I'm fairly new there, how supportive that platform is. So
it blows my mind the amount. TikTok was the thing that did it for me, that showed me that there are so many people and that this is so much bigger than we were all led to believe. Because I saw all these women and I was like, oh my gosh. So Rhonda, I appreciate you. Everything is going to be in the show notes, in the show description. Go make sure that you reach out and do it. It's so intimidating to reach out to people on podcasts. Don't be. If you're not watching the YouTube, go watch the video. Look at how kind and sweet this woman is. Reach out to her, contact her. We're here to support you and we are here to help. There's no judgment. There's no judgment. There's only love. And because we know that healing is possible, just like Rhonda said, and that message needs to be spread far and freaking wide. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really can't say that enough. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for being so vulnerable and so open. It's going to change lives. Someone really needed to hear this today. And I think that's really, like, that you're just so willing to reach out and do that, I think is just awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And thank you very much. Keep in touch.